Great.
Hey, Jen, you're jumping on it.
I'm jumping on 2 Zooms.
I just want to make sure.
Welcome to everybody that's joined. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. My name's Morgan Avon. We'll go around and introduce the committee here in a second. This is the info session for the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program. And we're going to spend some time talking a little bit about what the program is, what it looks like, have some frequently asked questions that we're going to try to cover and answer. This is a lot of information. So at the very end, we do have a section you can reach out to any of the committee leadership that's on this call. If you have any questions, we're more than happy to answer them because we are going to throw a lot of information at you. It's just unfortunately how this ends up working, but we're very excited to have all of you here and interested. So let's get started. So my name's Morgan Avon. I am the current chair of the Christopher Kelley Leadership Development Program. Sarah, unfortunately, is not able to make this, but fortunately, because she is very pregnant and about to have a baby. So she is the past chair. Nordry, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Nordry Rivas, and I will be the vice chair for this year.
Hey y'all, I'm Jeff Zeman, and I will be, I'm gonna get this title right. I'm working on this title. It is the Communications and Marketing Advisor. Is that right? All right.
Yes.
Yes, that is me. Are we not giving any information about ourselves? No?
You're welcome to if you would like.
Well, it's all right there. I work at Perkins and Will at the University of Texas at Austin, and I've been in the field for about 9 years. And I like the thing we've added to these, which is like our path to get to where we are in Houston. I think we should definitely speak to those, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Houston, so I have like no past.
Well, I mean, sorry. But I've kind of gotten around Texas and spent some time in NYC on my path to Houston.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to see some friendly faces that I recognize. I'm so glad you guys were able to make it. And to those that I haven't met, I hope to meet you very soon. My name is Juliana Hernandez. I currently work at Smith Group. And fun fact, I actually got licensed during my Christopher Kelley session. One of the Christopher Kelley sessions, the last one.
Yeah. So something that's unique about this program is we are all past scholars of the Christopher Kelley program. That is how you join this committee. So we are all very deeply entrenched in it and very proud of this program because we have personal ties to it. So a little history about Christopher Kelley, because the name is everywhere, it's all over it. He unfortunately passed away and was very, very passionate about leadership and development. And so his peers, friends, family got together and started this program out of Washington, D.C. A little over 10 years ago. And it's grown to multiple cities across the country. And so it's been a pretty successful program. We're excited to just keep it going. Like I said, it's across the United States now. It's growing yet again. Last year was the first time Puerto Rico joined the group. In Houston, we're only about 5 years. This past year was the 5th year. This upcoming class that you're applying to will be the 6th year. And so we're excited to keep it going. One of the most amazing parts about Christopher Kelley is it is an incredibly diverse group of people that come together as scholars. It's people who are not licensed, people who are licensed, people who are from a variety of firm sizes. We're talking everything from they own their own firm and they are the sole person working there to some of the largest firms in the entire United States. And so that's what's so exciting about it is that it gives a variety of different perspectives to come from and bring to the table when you build this cohort of people together, and everybody stays fairly close to their scholar class. And so it creates this amazingly broad network of just a variety of backgrounds and interests and experiences in this industry. One of the biggest missions is, actually, I think Nordry is supposed to take this
I can
over.
speak to that, yeah, if you will allow. So like you were mentioning, this program started 10 years ago in DC, and it was meant to train and nurture the next generation of leaders And like we said, in time, it expanded through various cities. It's in Denver, Miami, Indianapolis, Detroit, Georgia. It started here in Houston in 2018, and we became the 6th CKLDP location. And I'm from Puerto Rico, so I'm really proud that it's there now. And I think it's really exciting to think about how much it's grown and how people are growing and learning along with it. Who is eligible? I think this is one of the most important questions. I've gotten this a lot. So licensed architects within 10 years of their first licensure. But also, if you're not licensed, you can apply. Like we were mentioning, Juliana was not licensed at the time. I'm still not licensed. I'm working towards my licensure and I was able to apply. So don't let that stop you. Also, you don't have to be an AIA member. I'm currently not an AIA member either. You don't even have to be an architect. You can be part of the architecture, construction, engineering field. You can be an owner representative, an interior designer. Anyone in this field is welcome to apply. I mentioned before I'm dog sitting, so please excuse the doggies running around. I think that it adds to the growth of the program to have applicants from diverse backgrounds, diverse career paths. All of this adds to what we're learning together and how we're growing in our leadership.
And we specifically do not have an age range on this. Everybody enters this industry in various forms and fashions. It's more about where you are in your career. And so I do understand it being a little frustrating if it's not a precise, you need to meet this metric to be the applicant. If you're concerned at all that you might not meet it or you don't fit the criteria because it is kind of loosely defined, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to answer. I'm like 99% sure my answer is going to be yes, you are more than qualified. But that is the reason it's so loosely, is because we want a unique group of people that are diverse in where they come from and why they're coming here.
Something that's not loose is that you need to be in Houston or in the Houston metropolitan area, because it's very important for people to physically attend every session. So that's the reason why that's an important stipulation.
Yes. And so applications are open. You can go to the AIA website and find all these materials for what it's looking for. I do want to run through this a little quickly so that you get a rough idea of what you're getting into if you're looking to apply. This is a decent amount of work, but there's a reason for it. It's an incredibly self-reflective process that helps you understand where you're coming from and what you're looking to get out of this program. And so there is your letter of interest, letter of recommendations. This does not need to be from people at your firm. It does not need to come from architects. It can come from a variety of sources. This is really someone, or looking for someone to recommend you that knows who you are and knows why you would be a good fit for this program. The personal resume that helps us understand the background you're coming from and, you know, just where you are in your career. The agreement form is partially for you, but also to start that communication with your company, because this is something that is going to take a little time from your office, not a ton, but it does state that you know that you have agreed to show up and that your company is aware that you have committed time to this program as well, and they support you in that. Keyword, they support you in that choice. Tuition. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and mute someone. The tuition assistance form, that is for if you are someone who is at a smaller firm, they don't typically have the funds to support this. If you are a sole proprietor, if you are nervous about asking your firm, if you're at a medium to larger firm and are uncertain about how to approach them to ask for them to pay for your tuition, please feel free to reach out to us. We are more than happy to walk you through what an email to them might look like or how to start that kind of conversation. The tuition assistance is really more for firms that just don't typically have money set aside for personal growth efforts, like some of the extra large firms typically do. The big thing I want to say about applications is this is your opportunity to look at who you are and what you want as a leader, because if you're applying, you are already a leader in some form or fashion. And so it's looking at where you are now, where you're wanting to go, and telling us that story and introducing yourself to us. And so I just really encourage you to try and build that story through all elements of the application material. Is there anything y'all want to add? All right. They went through it a little bit more recently than I did. So the program commitment, I really want to emphasize this. Attendance is mandatory. The whole point of doing this is being there in person and interacting not only with people that are brought in to talk to you and teach you and lead discussions, but also to interact with your scholars, your fellow scholars. So attendance is absolutely paramount. Getting that signed agreement form just really helps ease your way with your company to be there and have that attendance there. You're allowed one excused absence. We've tried very hard to make sure the calendar is clear of holidays and major events and elements like that, but it is already posted. So please take a look and think out that many months in advance on if you will be available or if you have a big life event. You know, maybe this year is not the right year for you and the next year will be. There are 2 absolutely required sessions that you have to be at, and not being there means you will be excluded from the program. It is boot camp, which is the very first session, and the very last session's closing ceremony. Those are the 2. It is, if you can't be those, please don't apply for this year and apply for the next year. I don't want to go into the fines because we're not big fans of them, but that is part of the requirement just to show how serious we are about attendance being mandatory. All right, and so this is the schedule. You can also find this online on the AIA's website. The big ones I think you will be most interested in is applications are already open. They are due July 9th. So please put July 9th on a calendar so you can submit it at 11:59 p.m. the night before, as all architects do. You can submit it as early as you want, but that is the cutoff time. And then we will announce late July so that you have time to make sure you can get your schedules in order and have those conversations with your employer and before boot camp starts in September 1st. And then we've got all the sessions listed out there. Once again, this is also on AIA's website if you want to go look at this in comparison to your personal schedule. All right. So a little bit about how sessions develop. Did I assign this to someone else to talk about, or am I running? All right. So sessions are what drive Christopher Kelley. This is excitingly, and it's going to sound totally bizarre to me to say this to you guys, it is scholar driven. You guys drive everything that makes Christopher Kelley what it is. It's the exact group that gets selected. Day one, you decide where you're going with it. And it sounds kind of backwards to say that, but what happens is there's 16 applicants that get accepted. There are broken out into 8 sessions that you run boot camp, we run for you. And so you're given a session and you guys will be in charge of picking the location, how big of a space do you want to be in, who's speaking, who's coming in, what is that focus that you really want to narrow in on. All the titles for each session are left a little ambiguous so that you're allowed to go the direction that your group is really interested in digging into and learning about. You know, if it's negotiation, that can be anything from I want to learn how to close on winning a project to I want to know how to get a higher salary increase. It is anything and everything you can think of. And it's down to those 2 people planning the session to figure out what that looks like. So session development typically takes, everybody only has 1 session. It takes generally about a month to a month and a half time frame to get it planned. And I don't mean you're working the entire time all the way through. I'm talking you've got a couple emails you send out one day over lunch. You've got a meeting with your person once a week because you aren't doing this by yourself. You have like every other week a follow-up call with us for 30 minutes to say, are you on track? Do you need help? So the time requirements for sessions are really down to just your session for the most amount of time. And it's the month month and a half leading up to your session. And you know your sessions day one of boot camp, so you'll have plenty of time to get prepared for them. And this is going to sound also totally wild. Your network's way bigger than you think. So when I'm saying it's on you to find the experts, it's on you to find the speakers, it's on you to find these leaders in the field to talk about these topics, you're going to be very surprised by just how deep that bench is that you already have. And your partner's bringing in a whole nother deep bench to come to. And on the off chance you feel like you don't know anyone, you feel like you have no connections, you have a committee that is backing you 100%, and we will have plenty of connections to help back you up as well.
It's also, I'll just add to that. I mean, it's also a great opportunity to make new connections that you don't have yet, right? When you're searching for who these people are. It's amazing how generally accessible a lot of people in our field and adjacent fields are. If you're asking about this type of thing, they are often very eager to help out with what we're about, which is developing leaders. So that's the other side of that coin, I would say.
Yes. And Juliana, do you want to step in on scholarship and talking? Because money terrified me before I joined this, because you do self-raise for your own session.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I remember it was super scary, like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to find a venue, potentially pay for it, and then speakers potentially pay for them and any materials. But like you said, Morgan, like once you start tapping into your network and really sitting down and thinking about the connections you've already made, it becomes less scary. And like, I didn't think it was that bad. I was able to just make quick phone calls, and like everybody was automatically like very supportive. I hardly ran into anybody that was like, no, I can't do it. Or if they couldn't, they'd be very sorry. But like, for example, all of the sponsorship consultants that I reached out to, they automatically said yes. It was like an immediate verbal yes, like within a minute.
Yeah, and like I said, we're also here for you. So if you become uncomfortable with what language to use, we will help back check that with you. We'll give you some language to help you. This is not about you doing everything by yourself. It's very much about we're here to help, but we also already believe in your capabilities. So here are some examples of what these sessions look like. So boot camp is everybody's coming together for the first time. All the scholars are meeting. And like I said, it's self-driven. So what you see on the image on the right is that is all your sessions laid out, and you've all sat together as a group and said, this is what we're most interested in. These are the 3 topics we want to really zero in on and focus on for this session. And then that's what those 2 scholars plan on. Working together is always a really fun session. It's the first one out of the gate. Entrepreneurship and business management, just unique interacting. How do we work together? You can see sometimes there's panels, sometimes there's activities. The art of negotiation and closing the deal is always a fun one. Once again, it spans everything from a single speaker to an entire panel discussion to activities. It's very much up to you on how this works. It can be as interactive or individually focused as you want to see it. Diversity, equity, inclusion is always an important topic, and it's always a unique one. This is something that we really encourage all scholars to do, is get out of firm offices and find unique locations to the topics that they're talking about. So this one is always a very fun and engaging session. Trending now, also always a unique one. Going out to different places and interacting in unique and different ways. This one, we had a VR on our cell phones. So that's what you see everybody doing on their cell phones. They're not just ignoring people. Expanding our practice. Nordry actually was a speaker for my year, and now then she was a scholar, and now she's a vice chair. So you can see the through line of networking and connections that start to form in this group. And then the future of you is our closing session, and then we have our closing ceremony after, where we celebrate everything that you've accomplished within the past 9 months. So during your application process, we do ask you to select which sessions you're most interested in. We have, at this point, I'm going to knock on wood, never had anyone have to go to their 3rd. We do ask everyone to pick their top 3. We almost always get the majority of the group their top one choice. Sometimes you get your second, but this is how we do it. We basically input, here's your number one, here's your number two, here's your number three, and then try to cross-check and see where they all end up. So we try to be as equitable and fair as possible. I will say community engagement, diversity, equity, and inclusion are generally pretty high up there for a lot of people, but everybody comes in with different interests. Sometimes it's people that say, this is what I'm most passionate about, and sometimes it's, this is what I want to learn the most about. It's completely up to you what you select. And we try to be fair about making sure everyone has something that they're very passionate about bringing to the table. So here we go, selecting who gets what. So we're in the Q&A session. We've probably mentioned some of this before. I am going to encourage you to ask questions if you still have questions at the end of this. But do you have to be licensed? No, you do not. You can be unlicensed. You don't even need to be an architect licensed. You could be licensed as an engineer or interior designer, or I don't think contractors get licensed, certified, you name it. We're looking for people in the AEC industry. There is a bit more of an emphasis on architecture in these discussions, but all viewpoints are important to these conversations. Do you have to be an AIA member? You do not. We encourage it. We encourage you when you finish this program to pursue that professional path, but it is not required. There is a tuition difference for members and non-members. And if that's something that your firm is concerned about, just please reach out to us and we'll help talk you through it. Do I have to be an architect? You do not. You do not have to be a licensed architect. You do not have to be on the track to being an architect. Like I said, this is about the industry as a whole. We're looking for leaders in this industry. The emphasis is architecture since this is through the AIA, but we're looking for viewpoints from everyone and finding leaders in all aspects. What should I put on my application, or what does the selection committee want to see? I know this application feels very, very intimidating because it is a little deep and a lot of questions are thrown at you through it. It really is just try and tell a story about who you are and why you are most interested in this. If it's about, you know, you feel like you're already a leader, but you're not getting opportunities, that's a story to be told. If it's, you know, I desperately want to be a leader and I'm not sure I'm on track to be one, that's a story to be told. If it's your background and your parents were involved and they were a leader, I don't know. That's what we want to hear. It's about you. And also just question yourself about why do you want this? Because I think you'll find some very important answers going through the process in that way. How much is tuition? Juliana, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so touching back on what you were talking about, how much is tuition? So it differs if you're an AIA member and a non-AIA member. So for AIA members, it's $445, and for non-AIA members, it's $535. But let's say you are working in a smaller firm and you need some assistance. We do have a scholarship tuition assistance on our next slide for those who are eligible. Can you go to the next slide, Morgan? Thank you. So in order to be eligible, you have to work at a firm with 10 or less employees, and you can apply for tuition if you have a financial hardship.
And I really, really want to emphasize you joining and applying to Christopher Kelley is not just something for you. That is the main emphasis and the focus is you, but this is something that's also a great opportunity for your company to have someone pursuing a leadership opportunity, to have someone who is willing to further their growth. It's something within AIA that is growing and starting to look forward, will be looked at as, you know, what firms are supporting emerging professionals and what firms are not. And so if you're nervous to ask the question of, hey, I need $445 or $535, I want once again, just please reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you with that language and help you have that conversation. I won't speak for every company, but for a lot of companies, this is an incredibly affordable amount of money, and they're more than willing to cover that cost to further your growth. And so lastly, like I said, I know we've said, feel free to reach out to us. I know the application still might seem a little concerning. If you're interested in what seeing an application looks like, we're happy to share our applications. Clearly, we've gone through the program and made it through. I encourage you to try it on your own first. We do not want to see replicas of our own applications. That's not the point of us offering it up. I just know some people struggle a little bit more not seeing what an application might look like. And so we're happy to give it to you. You just need to reach out to us. But
I can add that at first it seemed really daunting to me when I saw the things, but then as I started doing it, I realized, like you said, it's really introspective and it turned out to be a lot of fun. I did it within the span of a weekend and I really enjoyed thinking through the questions and submitting everything.
Yeah. And so if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. I do want to open up, you're not required to, but if you do have any questions that you feel like maybe we didn't cover, or you've looked into this and you're still not sure about something, please feel free to put in the chat or unmute yourself and call out. It's always the awkward pause of waiting.
I can
That
kick it
just
off with a
means-
couple questions.
Oh,
if
awesome.
y'all
Yeah.
don't mind. So first off, it looks like since it's an online application, do you need to have all of your materials ready to start the application, or is it an instance where you could save it and come back to it and finish things?
You can save it and come back to finish it.
Awesome. And then my second question is on the first slide where you shared the application materials, it had the answers to questions listed below, and there's a comment about there's word limitation. Is that something you know the word limitation? Because I always like to type things out in Word
It
Before-
says it
on the application.
on the application. There's a little box when you go to save it.
Perfect.
And sometimes in Word, you'll go over, it'll say you're at, I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. It'll say you're at 200 and then you go to put it in and it might be at like 202. Just, I wish I knew why it does that, but sometimes
Awesome.
it counts extra.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Morgan, we have a question in the chat. Is session 0 or is session 1 the required session?
Session 0, they're all mandatory. You really only have one excused absence, and the excuse really does need to be something quite important. I think the past excused absences that we've had have been, we accidentally had one session fall on TSA, and the person's firm was winning firm of the year at TSA, and they had helped put that application together, and so they needed to be there for it. So that was an excused absence. We've had someone get very, very sick, and that's been another excused absence. And pretty much anything less than that, we try to encourage you to plan accordingly. But the ones that do require that if you miss, our expulsion is 0-1 and the very last one, just because they are that important to the program. But really all of them, missing one is just such a huge hit, I think, to the program as a whole. You really only have 9 of them. And so when you think of it that way, every time you miss one, you're missing a big chunk of the reason of why you're joining. Something else I feel like we might not have covered is time commitment. So each session is generally the first Friday of the month, and you're required to show up by around noon. Well, at noon, most people show up a little bit before because, drive times in Houston are an absolute blast. So it starts at noon, runs to 5 o'clock. After the session, we do typically have happy hours. Not always alcohol, sometimes they're ice cream, sometimes they're just fun food spots. We encourage you to also to try and attend those. I know sometimes we have parents in this group. And that's, you know, hit or miss on if you can. That's completely okay. It's really only the session that's mandatory. The happy hour is just a really good opportunity to network, not only with your scholars, but a lot of the speakers will stay and attend that as well. And we get speakers anywhere from, you know, head of facilities at Rice to contractors to other clients. It's a great networking opportunity, also leadership at other architecture firms. So I encourage you to stay and talk to those people, but that's the time requirement for each session when you're not planning it. When you are planning it, there is a little bit more time, like I said, of the month and month and a half leading up to it. But overall, it's really just a field trip is the way I like to think of it every first Friday.
I have a question, if you're able to hear me.
Yes.
My name is Chris Hopkins, and one of the questions I just wanted to ask in general is, I know y'all, when you opened up the session, you were explaining your passion to the program and everything, but just for everyone on the call and for someone like myself who's new and just hearing about the program in the last couple of months, after you completed the program, and I would say the first year afterward, can you just share how that affected your career and just your day-to-day in your profession after you exited the program?
Yeah, I'll go first, and then I'm going to ask these guys too, because they quite literally just finished it in May. But I'm about a year out. Yeah, I'm about a year out from finishing mine. So for me personally, I'm still at the firm that I was at when I went through the program. I have seen my career grow in two different ways. Outside the firm, I've become a lot more involved in AIA, which has brought me a lot of networking connections. And through that, it's actually cycled back to my firm. And so now I'm brought into more conversations with leadership on growing emerging professionals, because that is my passion, is growth of emerging professionals and ensuring their voices are heard. And so I've seen that grow in that specific instance. On my more job description career track, the timing of this was a little lucky for me. I was already growing pretty well on my career track, but this program opened doors for me networking wise, and I made a handful of connections on the client side as well as in the architecture side that just borderline like handshake, you know. You walk into a room, they're like, oh, I know you from that program. Oh my gosh, hi. And so little things like that give leaders in my firm around me the just like that little asterisk of like, oh, she's different. And so that's given me more opportunities in that sense.
Okay.
Well, for me, I worked at a medium-sized firm, and immediately after I told them that I wanted to join the program, my bosses heard that very well. And ever since, we just finished a few months ago, so the growth is still happening, but I was offered a promotion in my office. It led to a promotion. Also, it reinvigorated my passion in the career, the networking, speaking with other professionals that are interested in growing their leadership like I was, hearing their perspectives. That's another way that I feel that it helped the growth of myself and my career. And the networking that Morgan mentioned, the people that I've met through this program, I would not have met them where I am at in my career today. Like the opportunities that the program offered me are opportunities that I would not have had I not joined the program, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Thank you for asking. That was a good question.
And it is something we're working on with the program of getting opportunities opened up within the AIA, because you are rolling off with, in theory, fresh leadership skills. And a lot of times, you know, it takes a little bit to grow into those at a firm and prove them. And so the AIA is arms wide open for leaders of any kind. And so really ensuring if you're looking for that leadership spot, finding it on whether it's this committee or other committees to use that as a stepping stone in your own firm as well, because sometimes they need to see leadership proven before they're willing to help you reach some of those steps inside your firm. So we're working on building that up even more than it already is. Does anyone else have questions?
I have a question following up on that previous question, which was excellent. Is the Christopher Kelley Development Program tracking any metrics of the past groups, whether they've changed jobs, whether they've gotten promotions, or in what kind of leadership position they find themselves in today?
We do not have them formally tracked. It's something we're working on backtracking and doing. We did not, this program started 2 years before the pandemic. So a good chunk of the program was conducted during the pandemic, which was more the focus of keeping the program going than tracking the past. This past year, we did look back and go, we really need to know where people are now. So that's something we're looking at doing. Informally, I will say the first 2 to 3 classes, many of them have changed firms and have risen in their firms to leadership positions of, first off, I want to say leadership positions. I think most people don't realize that happened anywhere from the first 3 to 5 years of experience all the way up. But I think a lot of times when someone says leadership positions, they're thinking of people, you know, who are project managers or firm leadership or something like that. And many of those first, from the first class of Houston, have risen to, I think, what most commonly is referred to as a leadership position of project manager or leading departments within their firms. We do have people who were in those first couple of years that now sit on the AIA board, as well as are chairing other committees. So that's from 5 years ago, 6 years ago is actually when I guess the first one started. So some pretty quick turnaround in that sense. And then most recently, we've had a handful of people getting promoted just from keeping up with the people I was in my scholarship class. I would say that about half of them were promoted relatively after that.
And I'll add, I don't think that's necessarily because people see like, you did this program, I assume you're better. I mean, honestly, if you're on this call, if you're committing to this, you're the type of person who probably is committed and a great employee in general. So the fact that you're even here right now, the fact that you're registered probably means that you are worthy of these promotions even without, you know, going through this program. But obviously it does assist in adding in, you know, building the tools to be a better leader, to be recognized as a better leader. But I guess I'm just trying to say that, you know, it isn't just checking a box. It is, you are already those type of people already. And this is just, you know, an avenue to help and build on that.
Yeah, to echo that, I'm going to be very candid with all of you. It's not the program's name that gets you there. It's that your awareness of yourself as you go through the program is what gets you there. There's a level of confidence that you see scholars exit with that they didn't have beforehand. And it wasn't because they got a piece of information that changed the way they're approaching architecture. It's because they realize they're already so much further past where they thought they were. Because I think architecture as an industry, I love it, I'm in it. It's got some negatives, unfortunately does create a lot of self-doubt and not positive reflection on yourself and where you think you are. And I will say this program is a very positive shining light on who you are and where you are and showing you your strengths and that you don't need to fit a metric that the industry tells you you do. You just need to be good at what you do and who you are. But great questions. Does anyone else have any? I don't want to take more time than we have to, but I want to make sure you all feel comfortable with applying and are excited.
I have one, but it's kind of going back to the one me session. Like I have one commitment already kind of preventing me from one of the sessions, and I think it's sort of related, but I will hate to postpone it or to wait another year for that one. can I email you guys? I guess that'll be like
Yeah.
just better just to explain the situation.
Yeah, please feel free to reach out to any of us or all of us, and we can help coach you through that. Really, as the biggest one is just it can't be session 0 or session 9. But feel free to email us and we're more than happy to talk to you about it.
Okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? You don't feel like you need to, I promise. I just want to make sure we don't end early if you had a burning question. All right, well then I'm going to thank you all so very much for your time. I hope to see all of your names or versions of your names if you have like a nickname on your Zoom call in here soon. And like I said, if anything pops up when you're going through the application material, please feel free to email any one of us, take a picture of this, jot it down, you name it. And we're more than happy to talk to you guys. All right. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day and stay dry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.